presentable, audible, clear. And it's different from when I'll be talking to you outside the studio, which is my normal day-to-day speaking. Because I'd meet people who say, you don't sound like that on radio. And I'm like, I can change into my radio voice if you like. But it's got a style and a technique. And I think it takes learning and it takes time to grow into it. So crossing over into getting actually onto the radio, there's lots of techniques you need to learn, to how to run the desk, how to operate the ads. Again, people forget, as presenters, your job is not only to entertain, but is to make money.
True.
And make money for the station means
Yes.
I make money. So the adverts, the promotions, they're supposed to be delivered in a way that also is engaging enough for the audience to pay attention. Okay? So we find that a lot of times what has changed and what I have observed in the last 7 years that I've been off radio is that, off mainstream radio, let me say that, mainstream radio, is that people are now so excited with how do they look, because we have cameras, we want to keep with the digital disruption. And we want to create a lot of fuss around drama, theatrics, and it's harder for guys now because there is the disruption of social media. So a lot of the things that are happening are out there before you get here in the morning. So it's for you to catch up and give it another view.
True.
So what I find that a lot of presenters are failing to do on radio, which is a downfall for the audiences, is they haven't researched and they haven't dug deep. You want to pick your phone and say exactly what you see. I already saw it.
Yes, 2 hours before.
2 hours before you spoke. What's new? So you have to give me the new angle. So the disruption is making it difficult for presenters who won't work the extra mile. It's tougher for you, I agree. You have to put in more work. If I was back on mainstream radio, I know I'd have to work 10 times harder. For us guys back then, when we wanted to know what's happening in the world of entertainment, we'd be watching e-news, we'd be literally having to pay for subscriptions to watch them. Now you have it on your phone. What's your excuse? Go deeper, give it a different angle. The disruption of digital is not about to stop. It's the future.
True.
And that is why I took my brand into the future with KM Radio, which is an online radio platform that is geared towards just great conversation, because that's what your listener wants. They want to talk to you, they want to give you their story, and they want something that affects them in their life. The problem is we want to share things that don't affect them. If you don't know your audience, your target audience, what do they like to hear? Here we're at Pearl Radio, it's a Christian station. Yes, there's fresh hits, there's classic hits, but they also want to know about the word of God and how it affects your life today. It's really about you digging deeper into, do you understand the word and what it reflects into your life today? So that would be what the challenge would be for you guys now that you're in the new age of radio. To keep it alive is for you to dig deeper. That's it.
And of course, it's such an honor to have you here, considering you've been in radio for quite some time. And the theme this year is radio and peace.
Right.
And there's something Angie mentioned some time back earlier on about the fact that people used to listen to radio and be like, ulisikia jana venye walisema kwa radio, because you see whatever the presenter says is the gospel truth.
Yeah.
But right now you feel like for example, there's some information that has been watered down. You find that people are just using other mediums to find information. Unfortunately, at times it's fake news. You just
a lot of times it's fake news.
Yeah, so maybe talk to us about that.
So you see, I think one of the key elements about what radio has grown into is the fact that if everyone has more information than you, then you're losing out. You are an authority. You are a thought changer, thought provoker. That was the role of a radio anchor. And to be able to keep that up, you need to know everything at all times. Are you following all the relevant news outlets, the people who give the kind of information that you share on your style of your radio station? Is it something that you are ahead of the game? You really have to be in the know, and you have to work 10 times harder. Now, to maintain world peace, which is the theme of radio, this is a sensitive issue, because at the end of the day, you're the thought provoker to a lot of people. Now, we may be clouded and think that, there's so much internet, people have access these days, but that's secluded. If you look at Kenya, that's secluded to a very small number in comparison to the reality. The big cities, Nairobi, may have a bigger number of people who have access to internet or access to even knowing how to use the apps. Mombasa, a couple of the towns, but the majority of people still require and depend on radios because that's what they can afford to have in their home. So they will have the radio and they will have their TVs, and they listen to the basic things that are easily available that they don't have to pay for, because again, the economy is not on our side. So the responsibility to maintain that, especially for the majority of the country, up country who listen to you, is so important, so critical. So are you saying the truth? Is it factual? Has it been verified? Are you challenging people to think positively and maintain a social status quo? Because you're also under the government. You have a bigger responsibility. The minute each of you accepted to sit behind a microphone and speak to multitudes, you have a bigger onus on you. And because you are children of God, now you're even serving. So, my friends, it's bigger than you know.
True.
And so it is a responsibility to say things in a way that is serving God, serving country, and is responsible to changing lives. If you're not able to touch or change a life with what you say, the reason you'd hear people say, hey, did you hear, is because we probably said something that had a social impact that affected a big number of people who are feeling a certain way. And that's why, for example, with KM Radio, which is found on IG Live every Wednesday, which is what I do, has been skewed towards relationship. The biggest thing that is consistent is the relationships we have. Our first relationship being with God, secondly with our family, and then with the people we meet. Whether you're going to date them, marry them or not, whether it is just your colleagues, your workmates, the show is skewed around that. I believe that one of the biggest ways to maintain peace is by building better relationships. If you have infighting, even just between you and your siblings, you'll come here angry and you forget that you have a responsibility to the relationship of your audiences and start having some kind of back and forth. And we've heard it. We've heard it where some presenters are rude to their listeners, and then it comes off so badly and people are just put off because you have a responsibility. I used to hate the fact that everyone is looking up to you. So you kind of, whatever you say goes. And then there's these challenges that have been coming where like, oh, you guys are the pioneers, what are you doing? And I'm like, imagine I'm living my life quietly, but I'm still influencing people somewhere quietly. But then there's this whole uko happy, mbona ufanyi, and it's not that it's the fault of the people asking you. It's just the minute you stood up and took a position of being a responsible person who speaks into people's lives, it just doesn't stop. However, that is not to say that you can't do it in different ways. The beauty about having the digital space is that you can also create content and speak on that digital space in a way that is relatable. You get off your show here, you have something else that you do in your private time, on your private social media. How are you influencing people? I always ask people who are in this position of influence, even what you're posting on your socials, what are you saying? Don't say, but that's, my job is at PAL. When I'm outside, I'm by myself. I'm doing what I want. It doesn't work like that. It's unfortunate, but it's true. One of the things you can do is maybe maintain a private social media page for Facebook, for example, which still has the friendly page that is not a bigger page. And I maintain that for all the people who've known me since day one, my day ones from nursery, primary, nini. And that one, I don't allow fans there because then you see me as a fan, you won't see me as me. There I can be myself. I can actually be vulnerable in a different way. I can be funny in a different way that maybe my audience or people who look up to me don't understand. But everything else, responsibility. So maintaining the peace starts with you. How are you maintaining the peace in your own life before you transfer it to the world who you're responsible to through the microphone?
96.9 FM, Pearl Radio.